It feels like the right time for a look back at the Captain Planet cartoon. After rewatching it through the jaded eyes of adulthood, we're here to bring you all the strange hanging plot threads, surprising facts, and head-scratching moments that we completely breezed past as children. When you rewatch Captain Planet as an adult, you'll be startled how many times you'll find yourself saying, "I know that voice!" That's because many of the biggest stars of the early 90s lent their voices to this animated series. What makes this even more delightful is that most of the star power was concentrated in the villains. So these normally respectable actors really get a chance to have some fun as they portray the delightfully hammy eco-villains that oppose the Planeteers. Meg Ryan played the megalomaniacal scientist Dr. Blight.
I did it! I really did it!
And her talking computer Mal was played by Tim Curry, drawing most of his appearances. The oil baron Hoggish Greedley was voiced by Ed Asner, while his sidekick Rigger was brought to life by John Ratzenberger. Martin Sheen played Sly Sludge.
I'm Sly Sludge! I'm Sly Sludge! I'm Sly Sludge!
James Coburn played Loot and Plunder, and the evil rat mutant Verminous Scum was played by Jeff Goldblum.
I'll pollute the whole river with my scummy brew, and soon the entire city will be mine!
Perhaps strangest of all, the evil spirit Zahn was played by the rock star Sting. There are fewer household names among the ranks of the heroes, as most of the Planeteers were played by veteran voice actors rather than live-action A-listers. But there were two notable bits of stunt casting among the good guys. The team's mentor, Gaia, the spirit of the earth, was played by Whoopi Goldberg.
On the side of good, you are a team, now and forever, the Planeteers.
And Kwame, the wielder of the Earth Ring, was played by LeVar Burton.
No! It is not possible!
Yes, Kwame, it is. In the first episode of Captain Planet, we meet the villainous Hoggish Greedley, an amoral oil baron who starts illegally drilling in a wildlife sanctuary, unconcerned with the massive damage his operation is doing to the local wildlife. It's a surprisingly realistic motivation for an antagonist that's nonetheless clearly evil, and it makes Greedley an easily understandable villain for a young audience. Everybody loves seals.
For he's a jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny.
However, in most subsequent episodes, far less work is put into coming up with three-dimensional villains whose plans can survive even the most cursory of examinations. Oftentimes, the villains seem to be polluting for its own sake, without actually gaining anything from it. For instance, in the episode Deadly Ransom, Dr. Blight kidnaps Captain Planet as part of a plan that would seemingly result in her own demise as well.
I'm going to learn the secret of your power and then use it to destroy the Earth.
Some villains do better than others in this regard. Loot and Plunder, for instance, is always clearly motivated by money. The most consistently nonsensical villain of the bunch is definitely Verminous Scum, who wants to spread disease, cause acid rain, and transform everyone in the world into mutant rats like himself. You know, just cuz. That's all well and good if you're just making a dumb kids cartoon, but Captain Planet is ostensibly trying to teach kids about environmentalism. It's not exactly clear what real-world evils Verminous Scum is supposed to represent. Let's face it, when you played Captain Planet with your friends as kids, nobody wanted to be Marty. Geese summon tsunamis. Wheeler is a human flamethrower. Marty can talk to animals? To a child, Marty's ill-defined power of heart definitely seems like the weakest of the five.
You weak, pathetic fool.
However, rewatching through adult eyes, you realize that Marty might actually have the scariest superpower of all, mind control. In two futures, Wheeler travels to a dark alternate timeline in which the Planeteers fail to stop humanity from destroying the environment. In this reality, the rainforests have been destroyed, most animals are extinct, and New York City is underwater. Marty has also fallen on hard times, becoming a homeless beggar. And interestingly, this version of Marty uses his powers in a way that we've never seen present-day Marty use them before, convincing rich people to donate to poor people like himself. This is still clearly a fairly benign use of his powers, but it opens up a whole can of worms about just what the limits of Marty's powers actually are. Let's just put it this way, if we ever get that gritty Captain Planet reboot that absolutely no one is asking for, we could see a world in which the littlest Planeteer goes dark, a mind-controlling supervillain in the vein of Kilgrave from Jessica Jones.
You'd like to invite me in? Absolutely.
Good thing Marty is such a pure cinnamon roll of a human being, and we never have to learn the answers to these kinds of questions. Perhaps the most surprising thing that you'll feel when you rewatch Captain Planet as an adult is a profound sense of sadness. Despite all the warnings it gave us about issues like deforestation, extinction, and climate change, we still haven't really solved any of these issues. Captain Planet and the Planeteers is often extremely optimistic in terms of how simple it is to solve the problems that threaten our world. On one hand, it can be refreshing in our increasingly complicated and cynical age to personify all the world's environmental issues as a single cackling villain, and then watch a flying blue man with a mullet punch that villain in the face. On the other hand, given how impossible it seems for the world to muster up the willpower to solve even the most basic of problems, it's also completely understandable that this simplistic outlook might strike you now as hopelessly naive to the point of being useless. But despite how ham-fisted it could get, nowadays our world could stand to have more cartoons like this one. Captain Planet and the Planeteers was undeniably brave, and decades later, it genuinely landed on the right side of history. That being said, rewatching this series with adult eyes, it's difficult to not always feel at least a little tinge of bittersweetness. It just goes to show that once you grow up, you can't really go back to seeing anything from your childhood how you did before. Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more Looper videos about your favorite TV shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.